Calvin Johnson said that you were the toughest matchup of his career. Give me some guys that maybe you lost a little bit of sleep over or took some extra time in preparing for on Sundays.
Well, first of all, I never lost any sleep over any receiver. Let's just put that out there.
Let's talk about it. All right.
All right, folks, we've got a legend in the building with us today. He's an 8-time Pro Bowler, a lockdown cornerback who dominated the NFL for over a decade, and now he's making moves off the field in a whole new game, and that's golf. As a co-founder of Gold Links Golf Club, he's helping change the landscape of the sport, bringing together athletes, creatives, and power players to build a community like no other. So please join us in welcoming Patrick Peterson to the show. What's up, cousin?
How you doing? Thanks for having me. That was a great introduction. I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
Yes, sir, man. We're excited to have you. We don't want to take away too much time from you because obviously you're on the course right now. and if it's one thing I know, time is paramount on those golf courses. So
yes, indeed.
Out the gate, man, how important has it been for you to find something physical and competitive to do, not just because you're transitioning away from football, but because you're entering a new chapter of life?
Man, with me being having that competitive nature pretty much since I was 6 years old, I still wanted to have those competitive juices flowing, when I wasn't able to still be competitive on the football field, so I end up linking up with a group of guys in Georgia, and we kind of had this idea of just putting together a community golf club to where we can go to these different golf courses. Like right now, I can't tell you where I'm at because it's top secret here, but going to different courses like where I'm at today, and just inviting people out, just having that community come by with us and just share, wonderful stories, you know what I mean? Because golf can definitely put you around all type of shapes and walks of life. And that's what I love about it.
How does it feel for you, Patrick, to be able to create a space for Black athletes to be able to explore golf when historically that wasn't really afforded to them?
Well, that's one of the things that we saw that was missing, culture in the game of golf. We wanted to kind of shine light on that because there's like I said, there's all different shapes and sizes and colors that are exceptional golfers, but they don't have the necessarily outlets or the necessary resources to be able to fulfill their dreams. So that's something that we want to be able to do to kind of lighten that for them, being able to go to different golf courses, being able to still be competitive and be around good players to also help them, maximize their game.
Got you. Yeah, it's such an interesting thing in these sports that we haven't always necessarily been very present in. And of course, you have your outliers, your Tiger Woods and so on and so forth. There is a real desire for people who are transitioning away from some of the more physical sports like basketball and football to find new activities, whether that's tennis, which is what I do. I'm all in on tennis. I play like 3-4 times a week, or golf. But what I have found in tennis is sometimes it feels like we have to lose a part of our cultural identity to fit in. So how much do you feel compelled to accommodate what the sport has always been versus showing up as who you've always been?
I mean, honestly, that's what golf is all about. I just feel like, the Black community don't have the opportunity to really showcase that or have the notoriety or, the people to put them in these rooms. At the end of the day, that's what we want to be able to kind of bridge that gap on being able to go to these prestige golf courses, being able to travel state to state. Because at the end of the day, golf is a world renowned sport. We just have to put it on people's plates and show them how fun it is, how awesome it is, places that it can take you. You know what I mean? It's just with us, the Black community, we just haven't never been exposed to that. And also, I feel like the golf game is so expensive that a lot of people don't like spending a certain amount of money on certain things. But that's something, like I said, that's the gap that we want to be able to, that bridge that we want to be able to fill, because it's so many young athletes out there that can really take this game serious, but they don't have the proper resources. So again, that's why we want to kind of build a community, to have people feel comfortable, allow them to be themselves, and also find a niche for them in their life.
So we know that Gold Links Golf Club, Patrick, has a lot of former athletes. You got to let me know, though, who has the best golf game?
The best golf game out of our group will probably be between Ed and Roger. I'll probably be around the third, the third, the third best player out of the seven of us. So, for the most part, those guys been playing golf all their whole life. They grew up playing golf. Me, I just picked the game up very, very late in life and became good very early.
Well, I gotta ask because this is my dog. How is Billy's game, man? Because I see him all the time on Instagram on the course. Is he cold? Is he decent? Because Billy talk a lot.
I know he do, man. Billy is actually decent, man. Billy is one of those scrappy, electrifying golfers that's going to give you a good time no matter how he's playing. And that's why I love being around my guy, Billy. It don't matter how the day is going. We going to have a good time regardless.
That sounds about Billy. Let's talk about the field a little bit. Calvin Johnson said that you were the toughest matchup of his career. Give me some guys that maybe you lost a little bit of sleep over or took some extra time in preparing for on Sundays.
Well, first of all, I never lost any sleep over any receiver. Let's just put that out there.
Let's talk about it. All right.
But for the most part, man, all of those guys, because I was, presented with the opportunity of guarding each team's number one receiver week in and week out. So all of those guys presented their different challenges, but Calvin Johnson was just a beast of his own because he was big. He was 6'6", 6'5", 230, running 4.3. Matthew Stafford's going to throw him the ball 20 times. So for me, that's damn near 5 games in one when I have to go up against Calvin Johnson. So I know that my plate is going to be full. You know what I mean? Versus if I'm going up against a Julio Jones or Antonio Brown, those guys probably on average see the ball 10 times. You know what I mean? That's targets. Matthew Stafford, he's throwing the ball blindfold to Calvin Johnson, knowing that he's probably going to come down with football. So Calvin Johnson is probably the toughest guard just because I knew I was going to get that work. Like, I knew I was going to get targets. I knew Matthew Stafford wasn't going to shy away from me. So I had to bring my lunch pail each and every time that I had to guard, line up across against number 81.
As a former top cornerback, I got to ask you about the top cornerback right now. That's Travis Hunter. Have you been following his game? Like, what do you make of him being a two-way player? Do you also feel like he should be one or the other, or can he play both in the pros?
Now, I believe Travis can play both. Travis is once in a lifetime type, talent. You know what I mean? We never seen no one play the amount of snaps that he was able to play on a college level on a consistent basis and be efficient at both of them. You know what I mean? So I do see him having a role on both sides of the football field when he do get drafted. I don't know, who is going to draft him, but I know he'll be top 5 for sure, maybe even top 3. But I do foresee seeing him playing both sides of the football, but I also do see him being drafted as a defensive back just because as an offensive player, you just need so much to go your way. You need so many things to be aligned in order for you to be successful. And for the most part, where he's going to be getting picked, they need a lot of help. You know what I mean? So I feel like if he goes in as a defensive back, he can have about 20 plays on offense. I think he could be efficient and be just as good as he was on the college field.
The receiver pay scale is more or less or equal to the DB pay scale.
It's definitely more. Significantly more. And I don't
wide
know
receiver me.
I wide receiver me too, but at the end of the day, you have to be able. I feel like you have to have a good quarterback in order to see that next contract. You got to have somebody that's going to protect the quarterback so he can deliver you the ball. You know what I mean? So I just feel like there's so many more nuances that goes into being a receiver versus being a defensive back. You pretty much control your own fate. You know what I mean? If a team wants you to go out, if your defensive coordinator wants you to go out there and guard your team number one receiver, guess what you got to do? You ain't dependent on nobody else because the pass rush don't matter. The safety help don't matter. If you that guy, you going to not take out the team's number one guy, and I feel like that's where he can control his own fate.
That's fair. Coach Prime has shifted the culture of Colorado just like he did Jackson State before that. And now your peers like Mike Vick and Deshaun Jackson are now attempting the same thing at HBCUs. And it seems like the modern athlete isn't really trying to put up with old rigid white men anymore. So if you were coming into college today, would you lean more towards playing for Prime or a program that was a traditional power?
That's a good question, man. For me, I'm a Prime guy. That's why I played defensive back. That's why I wore number 21. That's why I wanted to play punt return. So Prime is my guy. So if he was a coach during my time, it wasn't no doubt in my mind where I was going. I ain't give a damn where he was at. He could have been at Kennesaw State. I was gonna go.
Oh, wait, that's funny. My brother went to Kennesaw State anyway. And they do not have a good football team. So
I know, that's why I said Kennesaw State.
okay, well, I want to ask you about the Cardinals because I feel like they just need something to kind of get over that hump. Like, Patrick, what do you feel like the Arizona Cardinals really need to just get over?
Yeah, man. I feel like they need another playmaker at the receiver position. I love the tight end that they have. I love the draft pick that they picked with Marvin Harrison Jr. last year. He's only going to continue to get better. If they can get them another prolific pass catcher to lighten, Kyler Murray's load when he does have those opportunities to drop back and pass, I believe they'll be much more efficient. Because if you go back and look at, the Cardinals, they're a pretty decent team in the first half of the season.
Yeah.
When they get towards November, December, it just seemed like they start to fall off. And I just feel like if they can get another pass catcher to help Kyler Murray, being basically a safety blanket for him, because I don't think he have that just yet. I know he love the tight end. My mind's going blank right now. Mid Bridges, I believe his name is. I know that's pretty much a safety blanket, but if he can get somebody that can win on the outside on a consistent basis, I think that'll make his job that much easier and make that team, that much more dangerous down the stretch when they really, really need, to win those games in the second half of the season.
For sure. Do you feel like the NIL deals are making athletes harder to coach and too brand conscious, man?
100%. 100%. I believe the NIL is destroying the NFL. Like, I'm not opposed to the guys getting paid, but it needs to be a better system in place. Like, I'm a firm believer of these kids don't need to have $500 to $1 million in college. Like, what are they gonna do with that? You're in school each and every day. You're in football practice each and every day. I just feel like that sidetracks them and don't keep that hunger up for them when they do get into the NFL. So my plan would be, I'll give you your money. I'm gonna give you a boost, a bump in your monthly sniping or whatever. But you're gonna get this money when you leave school, because a lot of kids don't even understand what comes with $100,000, what comes with $500,000. You know what I mean? They're the first ones in their families that's seeing this type of money, right?
Man.
And I feel like if the NILs if these kids were able to get the money after when they leave school, now you don't have to worry about going to get no line of credit. Now you don't have to worry about getting no loans for the bank. Now you have your own money versus trying to go out and borrow. Then you spend that quick. Next thing you know, the interest rate, all that stuff is through the roof. You know what I mean? These are things that these kids don't know, and these colleges are not putting them up on game. So that would be my proposal to these colleges. Yeah, I'll give them maybe $7,000 a month. That should be more than enough for them to live and get whatever they need. And now, at the end of the year, once you leave school, declare for the draft, now we'll have a big check for you.
$7,000 a month in college would have it might have put me in harm's way. I ain't gonna lie to you. I would have been bankrolling a lot of activity.
Is doing to these kids,
bro. I couldn't even fathom.
Oh, yeah.
I got a refund check one time that was so heavy. It don't even matter we ain't even gonna talk about what I did with it, but let's just say the homies we had a good time for a whole semester. Which, you know what? This is an important question for me to ask you coming out of that, right? Because looking into your life and your background, man, you got married in 2012 when you were, I believe, 22 years old.
Yep.
Why was it important for you to not just find a partner, but to intertwine your lives in the ultimate way at that young of an age?
Man, I believe watching my grandparents, I was fortunate enough to be around, both sets of my grandparents. I only have one grandparent left right now. And that's my grandfather, a guy who I looked up to, and watched how he cherished his wife and treated her, because my parents had me at a young age. So my grandparents my mom had me at a young age. So my grandparents pretty much raised me. And just hearing the stories, how they got married young. And I just always remember when I was like 11 years old, I was like, man, I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna get married young because this is what I want. And I saw what my grandparents had, how happy they were. Like I said, how he treated her, how he respected her, and I wanted to have that, for me as well. And I was just very fortunate to have good role models in front of me. Brian McFadden, a guy who played in the league, who I had the opportunity to watch get drafted, play in college, play in Pittsburgh, and watch his journey. And it kind of made my journey that much easier for me when I was able to be in this field. You know what I mean? So I was able to navigate through a lot of things that a lot of guys may not know how to navigate. So again, I was very fortunate to be around some really, really good people. And my grandparents, I believe they're the reason why I got married so young.
Got you. Well, we appreciate your time, man. I'm not a golf guy, but if ever you want to hop on that tennis court, man.
Now I can play some pickleball. I don't know about tennis though, but pickleball, I'm game in pickleball.
What's up with y'all with the pickleball? What's the appeal to pickleball? Because this is a thing amongst former athletes. Why not tennis, man?
The court is short, and then you don't have to run as much.
Oh man, we losing recipes out here, man. We losing recipes. You a top tier athlete, brother. You made for tennis. You see Chad Ochocinco out there.
Yeah, Patrick, thank you so much for coming on with us at TheFumble. And you all go check out Gold Links Golf Club. They are all on social media. And you let us know who you would like to see on the next episode.